Hey everyone, welcome back to the Triathlon Weekly News Roundup presented by thefeed.com. So sorry I missed last week's news video, but as you probably noticed, there's a lot of extra things going on with the Daily Tri these days, and I am still so pumped about this. Honestly, it feels like so much is happening in the triathlon right now, and if I don't make this news show, I just feel off. Like, I feel like I have to talk to you and tell you all about it, and I read every single one of your comments. Sorry I haven't been as good replying lately, but I always definitely read them and I try to respond if I can. But today, let's talk Oceanside. Let's talk Singapore coming up. We've also got the Supertri E World Championships to look forward to this weekend. And then we've got a lot of start lists. We've got the South Africa start list just came out and it's pretty huge. And we've also got 2 more Ironman 70.3 start lists in a couple weeks that are really good as well. Doesn't triathlon feel like it's here? The season feels bigger than ever to me. I think maybe just Oceanside really set that in stone with just how many pros were racing there, the whole pro series hype, and I mean, Lionel and Taylor winning in that dramatic fashion was just epic. I loved it. But we did have some news coming out of that race as well, and I think we'll start at the beginning and let's go through it all. So leading up into it, Race Ranger, what I'd hyped up before in my preview video, I was so excited for it, but they had firmware issues and we didn't get to see it used. Apparently they've got their old version of the Race Ranger units, but they only had 100 of them. Whereas in Oceanside, as we all know, the start field was so high, so they had to use their new ones. And unfortunately, their new ones, they're having a hard time migrating the old firmware onto those new ones. So they believe they'll be back up and ready for the next Pro Series event. And I'm sure they'll be able to use the old ones at Singapore if they're not ready yet. From what I've heard, they have so many races booked this year. So it's really good to hear that they think it's all gonna be sorted out soon enough. But other than that, all the racing seemed fair. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary there or hear anything about any issues, which was great. And what a race by Lionel Sanders and Taylor Knibb. We'll start off with Lionel because he just posted his video and I absolutely loved it. It was a nice long one, so we got a lot of details in there. Don't want to spoil anything on there for you. If you haven't checked it out yet, go do so. But I mean, just Lionel saying what we've heard him say recently, that he's just now fully committed. He's got a really good team behind him. He's realizing that the end is near and he doesn't want to say when he retires, if only. And I think that's the perfect recipe for the Lionel we saw at Oceanside pull off that amazing, amazing performance. And I think my favorite moment of the whole race, men's and women's, was just Lionel's emotion when he was running down that finish chute. And a lot of you commented on the highlights video I did where he was giving those seriously intense high fives to the fans. And yeah, I'm not sure if their hands have recovered just yet, but it was epic to see just how much it means to him. And he also talked about that before in the video of how he was feeling pretty apathetic before races in the past, but now he felt like they were letting him out of a cage for this race. So I put it up on dailytri.com. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. How well do you think he's gonna do at Kona now, based on this first performance, everything he's saying? This can be my hot question for you this week is, will Lionel perform like he wants to, like he dreams of in Kona this year, based on what you've seen at Oceanside? Let me know down below. But it looks like he's got St. George up next, which is going to be a fantastic race with a really big start field from what I'm hearing. And then he's going to try and do some wind tunnel testing with Canyon. We heard he was probably going to do that in the winter, but it looks like he's going to wait till after St. George. That'll be huge because he already looked good there at Oceanside, and then he'll head off to Lake Placid to do his first full of the year, and I think that'll be much more telling of how he might do in Kona. But he has to book his spot to get to Kona there, so maybe I'm speaking a little out of turn, but I think he'll be able to do it, although it will be, as you can imagine with this Pro Series, a stacked start list there too. But I'd also love to see him take on a T100 series race. I don't know about you. Somebody messaged me this. Do you think we'll see him in Alcatraz? And man, I just think it would be so good to see how he stacks up against that field this year. I mean, he beat Sam Long there at Oceanside. Would that translate into a T100 race? He's swimming well. I just love to see it. I think Alcatraz could suit him as well if it's a tough bike course. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me on that one? But we can move on to Taylor Knibb here. And oh man, it was almost too much of a domination, wasn't it? I mean, I think we all knew she would win, but just that much was a little hard to watch, honestly, especially when they tallied up the Pro Series points and only 13 women out of the whole field got Pro Series points. It must be a little demoralizing. I mean, to beat Paula Findlay and Emma Pallant-Brown, who both seem to have great races by that much, by like 12 minutes, that's pretty impressive. And then she also said that what was keeping her really motivated out there was just chasing Daniela Ryf's bike course record for the last 30 to 40 minutes. And I mean, she looked so comfortable doing it, taking all the time in the world in T1 and T2, having a bit of a conversation. So Taylor Knibb is really scary right now, and I think those on the T100 contracted start list must be really fearing for when she comes over and starts racing that series as well, especially with the 20-meter draft zone. I mean, it's going to be really hard to hold her on the bike. Big news coming out with Taylor Knibb, though, is that she pretty much was confirmed now to be working with Dan Lorang, as he commented on her post there. She hadn't spoken up about him publicly before, but that really kind of confirmed that he's her coach. And if you guys don't know Dan Lorang, he was the coach of Jan Frodeno. He coaches the likes of Frederick Funk now. I mean, pairing her and him together, it's just hard to believe Taylor could get better. It's going to be fascinating how she balances everything with the Olympics this year. She did say that racing those middle distance races is her favorite after this race at Oceanside. And we were talking about this on the podcast, is if she's just dominating races like this in the future, and she says there's so much more room to improve and things to fix, and if she is winning by this much, will that be motivating enough for her? And will she then maybe continue her cycling aspirations like she started last year? It'll be interesting to watch Taylor Knibb, for sure. If I was her, I would be aiming for nothing else but a gold medal at the Olympics. But back to the Pro Series points for a second, because we also talked about this on the podcast. I think you can even get away with doing 2 full Ironmans and 3 70.3s if you pull them off perfectly and have a good result in the Pro Series standings, because when you look at Lionel's result there on a pretty stacked men's start list, he's already 700 points up on Joe Skipper, 900 up on Patrick Lange, and when you add in 2 more Ironmans, and if you have really good results there, the times and the points will drop off much more. And I think even if Lionel, for example, he doesn't know whether he's going to fully compete in the Pro Series, even if he does 3 70.3s, including the Taupo World Championships, I think that might be enough to get him maybe a top 10 spot in this Pro Series ranking. So don't give up on people who don't do 3 Ironmans fully for this Pro Series. These points, as Taylor Knibb also showed, drop off significantly if you get a really good result at a 70.3. And I'm just loving the Pro Series points more and more, and can't wait to see how it plays out, as I've said before, at the end of the year. But then also with Oceanside, the best performances, I wish I could have made a full video on this, but I have to give it to Emma Pallant-Brown and Maximilian Sperl. Emma Pallant-Brown, we can go on to her disqualification a bit as well, but what a warrior she is to come back and race this race after having a bike crash. And she said she just didn't know leading up into the race whether she could or could not start. She eventually decided to start. She said she was feeling terrible in the swim, still managed to pull off that amazing result. Gets across the finish line, finds out she's been disqualified, and there was a lot of confusion around that. Thankfully, she submitted the appeal, went through the process. She paid $50, she said, to do that, and gave them her Wahoo file, and showed that she was under the speed limit at the speed limit section on the course. For those of you that don't know, it's a dangerous area of the course where the military camp enforced the speed limit. So that's something pretty much out of Ironman's control. But in the end, the race jury that met together and they overturned that penalty with the information. Same with Braden Curry, who had the exact same issue. I think that's fantastic. Good to see that system working that they put in place. But then also Maximilian Sperl. I'm pretty sure a lot of you, like me, were watching the broadcast. We're like, who's this guy? I actually put him in my preview video. If you didn't notice, I thought he'd do pretty well out of the swim, but I did not think he would hang on that long on the bike. He's ranked 123 in the world and pulls off a top 5 here. Kudos to him. He is one to look for, I think, in the future if he can hold on to the likes of Sam Long, Lionel Sanders, Jackson Laundry in a bike ride. Justin Reale was another one who managed to do that as well, so keep an eye out on those guys. But moving on from there, we've got T100 Singapore this weekend, and I think this one is going to be even better than Miami. And I think all of you will agree with that one because, first of all, the city is just so stunning. The race course here is so much more epic, in my opinion, than Miami. Just got a lot more dynamics to it. The swim, the bike, and the run, in my opinion, are all more interesting. And it's even hotter than Miami, which is crazy to think. But also there was lots of talk about the broadcast in Miami, and I think this one is going to be a lot better. We've heard the NASCAR put on a lot more of the broadcast there in Miami, whereas this one will be a lot more of the PTO running everything. Of course, there's always going to be things to improve, but with such good athletes, it's hard to go wrong. There's just too many storylines that come out of it and too many people to track. Even looking at a tracker, to me, when you have the best athletes, is super exciting. But speaking of, the women's list only actually has 8 of the contracted athletes starting, but it has a whole new dynamic with Chelsea Sodaro being back, Imogen Simmons is here, Amelia Watkinson, and then Ashley Gentle as well, the queen of the 100K distance, as they call her. She's back, first race of the year, looking ready to go. And then throw in some more. And what I like about the less of the contracted athletes racing is more wild cards, which always mix things up. I'm really looking at Lottie Wilms in this one. She came off of a great race at 70.3 Geelong, and she's going to be there on the swim and the bike, so you'll definitely see her. And then also Lucy Buckingham. She had food poisoning in Miami, you probably know that, and I just expect even bigger things from her. She stayed with Lucy Charles on the bike despite that food poisoning. Keep an eye out for her. On the men's side, a very similar field to Miami, but strong wildcards here as well again. In my opinion, they could be top 5 contenders here. Kakbar Stepaniak, he had a brilliant performance at Singapore last year. Mika New, he was looking so good as well at Singapore last year before he got to him a little bit on the run. And then Kyle Smith, who's just had a brilliant start to his year. And Yuri Kulin, as we all know, got that 4th place in Miami. So yeah, I just really think all those guys can perform. And then you've got the likes of Alistair Brownlee, Sam Laidlow, Jason West, lots of other guys, Peter Hemrick, Bradley Weiss, all on the start list looking for redemption from Miami because they all either blew up, DNF'd, or just didn't have the race that they were looking for. So I think there's going to be a lot of redemption stories here. I think it'll just all come down to the heat. Who can manage the heat the best? Who is flying like Sam Long was in Miami? Is Sam flying again, or did Oceanside zap his legs a little bit? But one thing, while we were recording our podcast, again, what we were talking about is we think there should be a system in place for wildcards to earn a permanent spot on the T100 series the following year. And that could be by either getting a podium at a T100 series race or getting like 3 top 5s or just some sort of criteria to see if a wild card could pull off a performance that guarantees them a spot. Because just looking at Kakbar Stepaniak, Mika Newt, Kyle Smith, and Yuri Kulin, and I think they could all even podium here. And I think that deserves a little bit more reward. So the time, sadly, is terrible for us here in the US to watch the race. So I think I'll be up super early. Thankfully, the PTO did a great job with highlights, and you can always watch the live replay back. You just have to avoid all the spoilers, which can be tough. But just make sure you get in your fantasy tri picks this week before the women's race starts, because Deboer Wetsuits is giving away a brand new speed skin, their Tsunami 3.0, which you'll see the likes of Daniel Backergaard wearing. So it's a huge giveaway for the winner of the fantasy. Just click the link in the description. It takes 2 seconds, make your picks. We absolutely love hosting the fantasy, and it's so fun to get so many messages, getting everybody talking about it. You can create custom leagues and play with friends. So yeah, make sure you go get those ones in for Singapore. And also, it's Deboer's 5th year anniversary right now, so they are doing one of their biggest sales ever, where if you buy a Fjord 3.0 wetsuit, you get a Flow 2.0 for free, which is basically the same as my Fjord 2.0, which I absolutely love. It's just got a little bit thicker arms for the colder temperatures. So yeah, if you're interested in that, do head to Deboer Wetsuits. And it's just so cool that they do a huge giveaway for this event. So huge thanks to them. But with that, we can move on to something that will actually be a good time to watch for us here in the US, and that is Supertri E, the World Championships of the Arena Games that we've seen before in London. They've got some good names on the start list, including Cassandra Belgrand and Beth Potter. I think that will be the show to watch at this event. Those two go head to head. But Katie Zaveris is also there looking to pick up some World Triathlon points as she seeks to get a little higher in the rankings there for World Triathlon to get a start like Gwen Jorgensen does at Yokohama. So she really needs those points. She's in pretty good form recently, and yeah, I'll be watching her with a keen eye there. She's fun to watch. And then Jonathan Brownlee on the men's side, also trying to make sure he gets an Olympic spot. Will he be back in the old form we've seen before? He should probably be the favorite here against Chase McQueen, Max Stapley, Hugo Milner. Good athletes, but you'd expect Jonathan to do well here. He's always done well at Supertri events. Should be really fun to watch. I always love hopping on the trainer. I'm getting real sick of my indoor trainer challenge that I've been doing, the 150 days in a row. I'm about 10 days away from being done with it, so this will help, thank goodness. But yeah, I think Beth Potter, Cassandra Beaugrand, it will be worth watching alone, so do tune in for that. But we can move on from there to probably the biggest news of the week, and that one comes out of the Ironman Texas start list, which is actually not yet released fully. It will be very soon, but there's so much interesting talk about it because it actually got closed early because it filled up so quickly. Obviously, this Pro Series is really popular right now, and everybody's putting their name on for these Ironman races as they count for a lot of points in the Pro Series. And Ironman responded to this. They said they had to move the deadline up to create a safe and fair race environment, which that makes a lot of sense. They said they gave a 2-week runway before closing the entries for athletes to enter in, but it still left athletes like Alistair Brownlee and Arnaud Guillot, Christian Hogenhaug without a chance of competing there, and those three, you'd have to imagine, would have made a big difference at that race. So there was quite a bit of reaction to this, and some people are calling for a tiered or ranking-based entry system for the pros, which is probably another hot question of the week. What do you think of that? Do you think they should base it off of this, or should it just be, if you snooze, you lose? So you just got to be quick, you got to be prepared. I think it's a real pity for Ironman to not have somebody like Alistair Brownlee featuring at a race like that, but I can understand where they just want to make it fair and open to all the pro athletes. So yeah, let me know what you think about that down below. But I actually think another headline was hidden in there, that Alistair Brownlee was trying to race a full Ironman race, which in my opinion just completely means he is going to try and qualify and race Kona and go for that again this year amongst the T100 series, which I hadn't heard him confirm before.
Around two things, one, getting an Ironman done.
And since he couldn't get on to Texas, he's going to go and race Ironman South Africa. Christian Hogenhaug as well, looks like he's moved his plans over there. And I'm super curious to see how well he'll do at the Ironman, just since he's crushed a couple races there before. And will we be talking about him as a favorite going into Kona this year? It'll be really good to see how well he performs. South Africa is actually a huge race in general because it's the African Championships, got a 150K prize purse, 4 male and female slots to Kona and Nice. And yeah, the start lists are fantastic. Just released today. Christian Hogenhaug, Alistair Brownlee, like I said, Cameron Worth, Matt Troutman, Bart Arnault, Josh Amberger, Arthur Horseau, Leonard Arnold, all those guys are going to be chasing their spots there and that prize money. So it's going to be tight on the men's race. And then Daniela Ryf is heading there. She's going to try and get her knee spot. She's definitely going to be the favorite. She's taking on Didi Diedrichs, Magna Nuau, Daniela Weimel, Susie Cheatham. Good few other names there, but you'd have to pick her as the clear favorite. And yeah, I'll do my best to cover that one. It's not broadcast, not part of the Pro Series. But yeah, any footage I can get for you, I will show you all about it because I think it'll be a good one to watch. And then actually the same weekend as South Africa, there's 2 70.3 races, one in Peru. A little smaller start list there, just $15,000 prize money on offer and just 1 slot to the world champs. So not too many big names going there. But Cebu in the Philippines has 40K prize purse, 2 slots on offer, and quite a few big names have joined up for that one. And a good few are hopping over from T100 Singapore, the likes of Daniel Baggegaard. Tom Bishop is also going to be there. Henry Skuman, short course athlete chasing the Olympics. He'll be a good one to watch. And Sam Osborne, who just won 70.3 Geelong. And then on the women's side, you've got Lucy Byram, Els Visser, and Reichman all hopping over from Singapore. And then Nina Duran and Zanet Bragmeyer, really good athletes to watch for. I haven't seen Zanet Bragmeyer do a 70.3 race before. And she's a phenomenal short course athlete, so she'll be interesting to track there. But otherwise, I think we've pretty much covered it. I think we've all caught up. The video of the week this week for me goes to World Triathlon reposting a video of Alistair Brownlee and Javier Gomez sprinting to the finish line. If you guys haven't watched some of these guys' old races, go back on World Triathlon YouTube and watch some of them. They're reuniting here at Singapore. Finally, Gomez missed out at Miami, and I think that is just going to be so fun to watch. None of us really know how well Gomez is going to be doing. Is he just too old? Have we missed the best of him at the end of his career? We'll have to wait and see. Pretty much everybody's kind of written him off for a good result here, but I think he might have a sneaky bit of fitness in him, and I'm excited to see him go head to head with Alistair. I think we've pretty much done it. We wrapped it up. Stay tuned for the T100 Singapore preview video next, and as always, have a good one. We'll see you in the next one.